Welcome everyone to my video on the Texas Instruments BA2+. Now, I'm going to try my best to make a video on a financial calculator as entertaining as I could possibly make it. So, here we have the Texas Instruments BA2+. So the reason I'm making this video is that in my classroom, we use this very same calculator. And we really don't give students a lot of time to understand the primary tool that they're working with. So I wanted to take just a quick step back before the course started and introduce the calculator because, as you can see, if it's your first time looking at this calculator, it can be a bit overwhelming. Of course, there's all the numerical and mathematical functions that you're used to, but there's also a lot of other things going on. There's some new keys. For example, we have this set of keys here. And on top of that, there are all of these yellow wordings on top of not all of the keys, but on top of many of them. Okay, so I'm going to try to simplify this calculator. And really, the reason why this calculator might be a bit overwhelming at first is that you're actually seeing not one calculator on top of another, but because they did not have enough buttons, they needed to implement this second key to open up a whole other set of functions using the same buttons that were available. But not to worry, I'm going to simplify this and make it very easy to understand. So what we have here is, you can see on the left-hand side, I'm going to try to make this a little bigger. I've completely removed all of the yellow text that was above each of the keys. Now, this really simplifies the calculator, right? Now there's not all this text on top of buttons and on, directly above the buttons. Now it's a little bit easier to read. And what I've done here on the right is I've only left the secondary functions. And how do we access the secondary functions? We hit the second key, and that opens up all of these keys for us to use. Okay, that's how we access all of these functions that are in yellow. All right, so that's why I really believe that maybe the calculator at first sight can be a bit overwhelming, and that's the purpose of this video, is to simplify it. And the other thing I'd like to do is for you to get familiar with the layout of the calculator and where everything is, so that, when the instructor says, okay, we're going to use the internal rate of return key, your eyes know where to go, and you're not spending a lot of time trying to figure out where exactly that key is. Of course, eventually everybody will figure it out, but I'm just trying to make things a little bit easier, given that this is the primary tool used in my class. All right, so we're going to start with the main keys, removing all the secondary keys and forgetting about that for a second, okay? Now, the on and off doesn't need a lot of introduction, so we're just going to acknowledge that it exists. However, on the bottom left, there is this C-C key. Now, this stands for clear entry and clear. You may think that this is a singular function, but it's not. They actually do two different things. When you hit this button once, you actually get the clear entry. And that simply clears what's on the screen at the time. When you hit this button twice, it'll actually remove the entire math equation that you're working on and completely clear the information. Okay, so a little different. The top one, hitting the button once just clears what's on the screen. Hitting it twice completely clears a memory of any previous work that was already done. Okay, I hope that's straightforward. All right, so very basic. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this. The numbers key. All right, everybody's familiar. All the down to the basic calculator has our numbers key, so we won't spend a lot of time on this. And then we also have our basic math functions keys over here on the right in blue. And one key that's important that I actually didn't use a lot in the beginning is the delete key. Now, this is very simple. Let's say, for example, you meant to type 50, but you accidentally put in 500. instead of clearing it and being unsure if you accidentally cleared everything, just hit the delete key and it'll move everything over, turning that 500 back into 50. So important to, it'll definitely make things a little bit easier. And then we have our storage and our recall keys. Now, I won't spend a lot of time explaining this here. I might make a secondary video showing you how this actually works. But storage, when you hit storage, it'll actually allow you to store values into each, actually even the 0, into each of the 0 through 9 numbers. And when you want to recall those numbers, you simply hit recall, and then you hit where that you stored that variable, and it'll come up on the screen. This is very useful if you're working with several variables. Okay? All right, let's keep going here. All right, so this is really important. These are our time value of money keys. Okay? For my course, time value of money is the foundation of the class, and everything in the class builds on top of time value of money. So it's really important you know where these keys are. There's a total of 5 of them, and I'm not going to get into that here. That's what my course is for, right? But it's important you know where the time value of money keys live. All right. Secondly, we have our, right above the time value of money keys, we have cash flow, NPV, and IRR. These are a little bit more advanced than your time value of money. You need to learn time value of money in order to actually use these keys, the cash flow, NPV, and IRR keys. But I would like for you to know where they're located. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Next, we have our compute and enter. I've grouped these two together, but they're very different. Now, compute is actually used when we're trying to solve for a variable. So generally, for example, in our time value of money keys, we're given 4 out of the 5 variables. We may be given 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're searching for FV, which stands for future value. We're simply going to hit compute, and we're going to hit future value, and the calculator will then know, okay, you're looking to solve for this variable. And of course, that applies for NPV and IRR. It's whenever you need to compute something. Now, enter is when you need to actually confirm that you're entering a number into the keyboard. I'm going to pull up my calculator that I have here because I think this is important for you to see. Now, you may not recognize these functions now, but eventually you will. So I've hit the NPV key here, and you can see that it's looking for a discount rate or an interest rate here. And I'm going to hit 10. But the computer doesn't know if you're done or what's going on, so you're actually going to have to hit enter here. And then you can see that it actually recognizes, okay, I've now entered that into memory under the interest rate or discount rate here. Okay. All right. So let's keep going. Oops. Next here, we have our second function key. I kind of explained this at the beginning. This second function key here opens up all the other secondary functions. I'll talk a lot more about that when we actually work on the we'll actually show you guys the secondary function key set of keys. All right. And then we have, of course, our advanced math keys. I won't spend a lot of time on that. Obviously, we have our parentheses, our exponents, and we have other things. We may use some of this in my class, but you know, there's some that we won't use as well. So I'm just calling them the advanced math keys. So as you can see here, now we have all of we've had the entire layout of the main keys covered. So you should feel, I don't want to say you'll feel comfortable. If this is the first time you're looking at this calculator, it might still be a little bit overwhelming, but at least you've been exposed to it so that the first time you're seeing it is not in the classroom where there's a lot going on. Okay. All right. So now we're going to get into our second keys. Like I mentioned before, you hit this second key and it opens up a whole nother world of calculator, right? I don't know if it's that dramatic, but it definitely opens up a lot of these other terms. Actually, I have this image backwards. When you hit the second key, it opens up all of these terms that you see here in yellow. You can, I don't know why I put that one there. Let's keep going. Okay, so now I'm going to cover very similarly the second function keys. So the first one I'm going to cover is the calculator reset. This doesn't need a lot of explanation. If you want to reset your calculator to the factory setting, you just hit second and this reset, as you can see here, it says reset. Let me zoom in case you're not able to see that. But it's just the reset key, right? There's not a whole lot. You'll notice though that when you hit this second key, we have second up here on the display so that you know that you're actually accessing all of these other secondary functions. Okay? All right, so this one's a little bit important. I'm not going to show it here. I'll make another video, but I'll just explain what this is. When you hit the second key and you hit format decimal, the calculator will actually ask you how many decimal places do you want. Right now we are set to 4. You can set it to 2, to 6, whatever you want. I don't know what the limit is, but this will allow you to change it. Why don't I very quickly, because it really won't take much. Let me just show you guys that. So let's clear out of this. You'll see right now I have 4 decimal places. When I hit second, this little second display comes up, and then I'm going to hit format. And right now it's telling me I have 4 decimal places. So let's say I wanted to go back to 2. Of course, I need to enter. Okay, and now my calculator is set to 2 decimal places. Really easy, but really important because there may be times where, for example, you need to go further out so that rounding doesn't become a problem. Okay, let's keep going. Now, we have here our secondary functions. When you hit secondary and you hit clear time value of money. Now, it's a little self-descriptive, but it is a little different than, let's say, clearing the work. Remember, this just clears the work that you're currently working on. Clear time value of money will reset all of the time value of money variables. So all of these variables in the primary functions will become clear. And I always stress to my students, when you're working on a time value of money problem, just always do this function, always clear time value of money, because you don't want something left over that's going to throw you off. Okay? We have clear work. Now you may be asking, well, what's the difference between clear time value of money and clear work? Now, clear work will clear all of the work in these keys, in the cash flow, in the net present value, and in the internal rate of return. It'll also clear all other worksheets. So if you have an amortization table, it'll clear all of that work. It'll basically clear what the calculator calls all spreadsheets. Okay, so there is a difference between the two. So I just wanted to make that clear. Sometimes students get confused because now there's all of a sudden 3 different ways to clear 3 different things, and there's a lot going on, right? So make sure that if you're working, for example, with cash flows or with NPV or IRR, that you're clearing your work when you move on to the next problem. Now, like I said, I know you may not know at this time what those terms are, but eventually you will. And I hope that you remember that from this. Remember that from this video. All right, let's keep going. Okay, now we have a really important function. Okay, we have our set begin mode. Now this is important because the calculator is naturally set to end mode. You may not know what that means at this time, and that's okay. But I'm here to teach you how to actually change from end mode to begin mode because it will be important in the future. So let me pull out my calculator again, financial calculator here. And what we need to do to change from end mode to begin mode is we're going to hit second, because that opens up the secondary functions. And we're going to hit begin here in blue. And you can see it's set to end. So we're just going to hit second and set. That tells the calculator that it needs to change it. And then that changes it to begin. So when I clear out of this, you can see now that the calculator has this BGN for begin right above the calculator. Now, it's important that you recognize whether you're in begin mode and end mode. So if we wanted to change back, it's exactly the same step. Second, begin, second, set, and then clear out, and then you're back in end mode. Again, you don't need to know what end mode or begin mode means, but definitely when we use time value of money and annuities and annuity due, which I understand you may not know those terms now, you're going to need to know how to do this. Okay, great. Let's keep going. There's not a whole lot left, so just bear with me. The set key. You saw me use the set key. The set key just helps you modify whatever setting you're on. So you can see that last time I did second, begin, and then I hit second again, and then I hit set. Okay, that's how we changed it from end mode into begin mode and vice versa. Let's keep going. So now memory. So we have memory is actually over here, right, in purple. And what memory does is it actually allows you to cycle through all of these saved memory. Remember I said before, when you hit store, right? Let's say you hit store 0, you have $100 here, and you hit store and you hit 0, right? What memory does is it allows you to see all these 0 through 9 variables that you have stored. Okay, and so if you for example lost track of where you stored something, or you wanted to see what was stored, you could do second store, and then you'll use the arrow keys to actually move to see through all the variables. Okay, I want to say, oh, okay. And then we have, now this is a little bit advanced. This is sort of pushing the limits of my course, but we have the amortization spreadsheet here. I just wanted to acknowledge it because it is important that you know how to use the second and amortization. Second, amortization is built on time value of money. So when you build a time value of money, so when you put this together, you can actually open up this amortization spreadsheet. I'm not going to get into what that is here. That's not the purpose of this video. Okay, now we have the quit key, right? When you want to exit out of something, it's descriptive, self-explanatory. That's the word I was looking for. But it's there. I wanted to acknowledge it. And that's pretty much, I think that's pretty much all I have. So you can see that there's a lot going on in this calculator, right? But my goal and my hope is that after you watch this video, it's cleared some of that up for you. Okay, it's not as overwhelming, and it's not as new for you, so that when you're first going into the class, you know what to expect and you know where to look. And sometimes I understand the professor can move pretty quickly through class, or you're busy taking notes and you forgot how to actually change the decimal places, or you forgot how to go into begin mode. That happens a lot. I completely recognize that. And I hope this video is helpful. That is my goal, because this is the primary tool in my class, and I want all my students to be successful. So I hopefully will see you guys in the next video.